What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome all my new supporters. Today we'll be reacting to the absolute insanity of Group B rally. Now, this was highly recommended, man. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. Thank you for all the recommendations. Y'all was flooding my social medias once again. I don't know how y'all be finding my Snapchat, but you found it.
When auto racing first began in the 1890s, it was extremely simple. Get a bunch of cars and drivers together and have them race from one town to another. First one there wins. In a time before purpose-built racetrack,
one town to another? That do sound like a vibe, though. You only get to see about 20 seconds of that race. They out of there. Gone.
And have them race from one town to another. First one there wins. In a time before purpose-built racetracks or electronic timing and scoring existed, this was the easiest way to put on a race and have an undisputed winner. However, these events were held on public roads, and thus you couldn't sell tickets and anyone could just waltz up and watch a race for free, or at least a segment of it. People wanted to watch the entire race and were willing to pay to make that happen, so around the turn of the 20th century, auto racing migrated onto horse racing tracks, as there were already hundreds of them dotted across Europe and North America. Fans could watch the entire race, get food and drinks, and even bet on the outcome. And the best part was, all the infrastructure was already built. In a span of less than 10 years, motorsports went from almost unrecognizable to looking exactly like a modern racing event today. But no matter how much the sport of auto racing changes or how much different it looks as the decades
riding go-karts
drag on, some people are always going to want to do things the old way. Even to this day, there are still racing divisions that host races on those same horse tracks from the 1900s. Some people who insist on racing in the old styles are just in it for the nostalgia. Others are purists and say that's the only real form of racing. But most see it as an old art form that deserves to be preserved and
Man, I don't know how he's doing it. That thing is not staying on the ground. That thing trying to take off. You see that little house bouncing and everything? Like, you might as well put some wings on that joint.
Real form of racing. But most see it as an old art form that deserves to be preserved and continued at all costs. Thus, some drivers still held on to the point-to-point style of racing that had started it all. In 1911, the Rally of Monte Carlo was held in Monaco, and the name stuck. That style of racing forever thereafter was known as rally racing. Eventually, instead of one-day point-to-point races, the long rallies were broken up into segments run across multiple days. That way fans could watch more racing and get more bang for their buck. After World War II, motor racing saw an insane boom in popularity all over the world. By 1950, Formula One had begun competition and several rally series had popped up. But in 1973, the FIA, the sanctioning body for F1, threw their hat into the rally ring and created the World Rally Championship, or WRC. Immediately they saw success as they gained the rights to the Rally of Monte Carlo, and many other major rally races all over Europe, be it in the paved streets of Monaco, the snows of Finland, or the mud of Sicily. The WRC did it all and had one of the most challenging schedules on the planet. Soon, rally racing was becoming more popular than Formula One, because unlike in that series, all the cars in the WRC were stock cars anybody could buy straight from the dealer's lot. The WRC had a rule that in order to race a car in their series, a manufacturer had to produce at least 5,000 units for commercial and private sales. This rule made the Lancia Stratos one of the most recognizable race cars ever made, and it won the WRC's championship top division 3 years in a row, from 1974 through 1976. Even in America and other places where the WRC didn't race yet, people knew about the Stratos. Kids had posters of it on their walls. Those lines are unmistakable. Just look at that thing. However, by the time the early 80s rolled around,
I told you guys the closest I ever got to this vehicle was a toy car I had. That's the closest I've ever gotten before. I mentioned that in one of my videos, man.
Lines are unmistakable. Just look at that thing. Man. However, by the time the early 80s rolled around, there was a problem with the WRC. The numbers of divisions or groups they ran were too specialized and too restrictive for the automakers to justify manufacturing 5,000 units necessary to meet the WRC's regulations. Also, the 6 groups they had hamstrung the teams with tons of rules in the way. So in 1982, the head of the FIA, Jean Balestre, made a radical move. He condensed down the number of groups from 6 to 3. 2 stock divisions would remain, but the third was something entirely new. Usually when a sanctioning body is trying to win over teams and factories, they introduce new rules to cap costs and keep them happy. But this time the FIA would take away the rules and say anything goes. So long as the car has 4 wheels and the engine breathes air, you can run it. For the 1982 season, the FIA and the WRC effectively threw the rulebook out of the window and said, let her rip.
Oh no! I'll be like, it's so unfair. We gotta spend millions. We're gonna go bankrupt? Oh my gosh. Imagine they talk about scratch that, no more rules. And we got people coming up. What am I gonna do with that? I can't do it. I can't come there with stock. You cannot come there with no stock vehicle no more. Do people still come with stock vehicles? let me know. I'm not a know-it-all, but let me know. Is there people still popping out with stock vehicles? Is it worth investing so much money into a vehicle that's bound to crash or take some type of damage? You know, something. Please let me know. Please let me know, because I'm aware these are like aren't these like private teams? Like, people own these teams. Like, a bunch of people come together. I don't know. It got to be wealthy people or something. They like franchise these teams, and they have to pay for these vehicles, right? Oh my goodness, these people are so rich. It's like, this is literally a rich man's sport now that I'm thinking about it. I'm so serious. And I want to get into this. I want to have my own rally team some one day. Is that like jumping? Am I wilding? I'm wilding?
The engine breathes air, you can run it. For the 1982 season, the FIA and the WRC effectively threw the rulebook out of the window and said, let her rip.
Yeah. This is when people get to tweaking all in the roads. Oh my gosh! Imagine seeing that car coming towards you like that, boy. You tell me you have a normal reaction? Not me. I'm out here on the road with everyone. I told y'all that. When I come down, I'm having an experience. I'm starting to get hyped now. Get back to the video.
Group B, as it came to be known, was pretty much the Wild West of auto racing, only really matched by the insane northeastern supermodified scene back in the United States. Instead of 5,000 units needing to be produced, it was lowered down to 200, and if you changed something on your car from one year to the next, you only needed to make 20 more. A laughably low limit. There were no restrictions on horsepower, turbo, and superchargers were given the go-ahead, and you could run any engine you wanted. And even the dimensions of the cars were not mandated, meaning that you could watch a rear-engine Porsche 959 compete directly against a front-engine Soviet-built Lada. Yeah, the commie car.
I noticed that so many times.
B was completely insane, and I love it. And the manufacturers put their money where their mouth was by putting forth some of the most monstrous cars to ever grace a race course. They started throwing money at their Group B programs and let their engineers go hog wild. Lancia were here to take their crown back yet again with their Rally 037, the spiritual successor to the Stratos. It had a 2-liter rear-mounted 4-cylinder engine that produced 265 horsepower. That doesn't sound like much, but with one of the few rules being a 960 kilogram minimum vehicle weight, about 2,100 pounds, that meant the 037 could absolutely fly through the streets.
Yes, it could.
Lancia would claim the
And that was so hard to believe when I first started learning about these rally cars. They told me, like, oh, it's a 4-cylinder. What? 2-liter 4-cylinder? Get out of my face. It got to be at least V6. That's what I'm thinking. Nope. And that's what really blows my mind. It made me have a little more hope for my Honda. I'm not going to go ahead and get to souping it up now unless I'm really taking it on the track. Crazy, like how I used to do with the Jetta. But I wasn't taking the Jetta on the track. But I mean, like, souping it up? Yeah, but no, man. These people out here doing big things with these vehicles. They only 4-cylinder. It puts a lot of hope in the 4-cylinder vehicles out there, at least in my mind.
That meant the 037 could absolutely fly through the streets. Lancia would claim the manufacturer's title in 1983, and they had yet another classic car to their name. The 037 in the Martini colors would become as iconic as any race car could ever hope to be. But their main rival in the 1980s was unquestionably Audi and their Quattro series of cars. The fact that the word Quattro rung a bell for you tells you how influential this series was in its heyday. Audi had won the title in 1982 with a nifty idea: 4-wheel drive. The car was a front-engine design and looked fairly normal, but it had a turbocharged inline 5-cylinder motor, and the 4-wheel drive meant that all 4 wheels could put down the 340 horsepower it produced. It was significantly over the minimum weight, being just a touch under 2,500 pounds, but that much power combined with a way to actually get it on the ground effectively meant that Lancia had serious competition. 4-wheel drive for rally was largely seen as a novelty before Group B, as it was just too unreliable and broke easily. But Audi had apparently found the secret sauce and changed the game forever. They also started an arms race by constantly updating the Quattro. They started off with the Quattro A1 in 1983, but next they debuted the Sport Quattro S1. This was a big step up in 2 ways.
They did put this vehicle in GTA. That's how valid it was. It was one of the ones, man.
First, it produced 100 more horsepower than the A1, despite using basically the same engine layout. And second, it really delved deep into the ever-evolving world of aerodynamics. Aero had been something that race teams all over the world had been fiddling with since the 1950s, but cars at the time simply did not go fast enough to make it worth spending that kind of money on R&D. But Group B pushed the envelope so much in the power department that aero was now a real concern. and the cars began looking less like street cars and more like rocket ships.
For real.
Peugeot was also in the thick of it with their offering, the 205 T16. It had an inline-4 turbocharged engine that made in excess of 500 horsepower and had aero scoops jutting out of every corner of the car. And despite it having that big front engine compartment, that's not actually where the engine is. It's in the middle for better weight distribution, because this is Group B and you can just do that sort of thing. It won the manufacturer's title in 1985 and 1986 with Timo Salonen at the helm. Now's where we get to talk about the absolute mad lads and lasses that drove these things, because they were every bit as weird as their cars. Timo Salonen was a Finnish driver who, despite his appearance making him look like a tax accountant, was the best driver in Group B's history, winning more events than anyone else. He was a laid-back man who never lost his cool and insisted on driving the car with just one hand and the other one being permanently left on the shifter. Stig Blomqvist took up driving duties for Audi and tamed their Quattro series, being instrumental to their title in 1984. Walter Roll won the title for Lancia in 1983, and of course we have to mention the Queen of the Hill, Michèle Mouton. She is arguably the greatest female race car driver that has ever—
What? I didn't know there was any— What? It's my first time hearing about this female driver right here. Is it? Usually I get deja vu. If I did, it was a long time ago. I tell you that, boy. Y'all not gonna be out here playing me like I'm green, man. I'll be knowing. I will remember. If I was given this information, it had to be like a year ago then or so. What? I didn't know women was like taking over the scene as well. That just go to show like women could do it all as well. They could do what men could do as well out there. Who said women can't drive? Oh, it's a lot. She's part of that 1%. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying though. Naturally, you know you want your man to drive if you go into the supermarket. Let's not do
Michèle Mouton. She is arguably the greatest female race car driver that has ever lived. She set the Pikes Peak hill climb record in 1985, won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and to this day she is the only woman to have ever won a WRC event.
Oh,
and there you have it, a recipe for success. The fastest cars ever built for rally racing mixed with the best drivers in the world. The FIA wanted to give the WRC a shot in the arm, and they had done it. By 1984, the WRC was more popular than Formula One, and fans flocked to these events in the hundreds of thousands. Sometimes as many as 400,000 people would buy tickets to see these cars and drivers in action.
400,000? Damn! Oh, he making up. Wait, where the money going to? Who getting the money? Who is getting the money? Are they getting some of the money? They gotta be, right? I mean, well, obviously, they gotta be getting some of the money, but like, where's all this money getting broken up into? 400,000 people just standing around town watching this race is what you saying? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Like, there's never an empty part of land, basically. When this guy is racing through the towns, he sees nothing but people 24/7. Pressure on the line. He don't got one moment to escape the eyes on him.
There were very
400,000 people. And how much a ticket? Damn, make it bad. And I'd rather stand outside touring the towns and stuff and witness this outside and be up close, especially for the money. I want to be a part of it. Just in case you get stuck in a ditch, I get to help you out. Stuff like that. Like close encounters, at least with the vehicle. And the driver, like, okay, let me help you out type stuff. You can't do that with NASCAR, F1. You stuck behind a gate and you sitting down on bleachers and stuff. I want to sit down the whole time. You stuck stationary. Get your snacks and sit down. Huh. This is nice. This is more of my swag.
400,000 people would buy tickets to see these cars and drivers in action.
400,000.
There were very few, if any, crowd control measures in place for Group B events, and those 400,000 people gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
So people would crowd the racing lines and even stand on the track itself just waiting to get the perfect vantage point to see these race cars do their thing. Some of these videos are just jaw-dropping to watch. It's like the automotive equivalent of the running of the bulls. I don't even know how the drivers or their co-drivers manage to see the road ahead of them.
I tell you what. That driver's not letting off that gas. So my Americans that want to go to the UK and you want to go check out a rally race for the first time, and you want to stay in the road, get out the way. I promise you he's not slowing down for you. He's not slowing down for you. Do it at your own risk.
Mechanics and crew reported that after a segment had been
playing with fire.
He's playing with fire, bro. Ahead of them. Mechanics and crew reported
you tweaking. You lucky he done jerked to the left. You lucky he jerked to the left. Boy, that whole right foot leg ankle, knee, everything, thigh, it would have all been gone. Calf, you would have been missing toes, everything, bro. You tweaking.
That after a segment had been completed, they would find bits of clothing and hair stuck in the grill and wings of the cars, body panels splattered with blood, and even fingers wedged into the air duct.
Oh no!
Group B was absolute mania.
Didn't I just say that? So these people was getting hit for real out here? And I told you what I just tell you. What I just tell you before he said that. They not letting off that gas. So you better move out the way. So you mean to tell me there was times the driver was driving and like he knew or he noticed or he's so locked in, he probably don't realize he just took your finger. He don't realize your finger is in his vent. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, oh no. I can't imagine that. I'm pulling over after the race thinking everything cool. I get to look into the front of the vehicle. What did I do? So, what did I do? You know?
Fingers wedged into the air ducts.
Fingers?
Group B was absolute mania. The coolest race cars,
air ducts, not vents.
the best drivers, the most rabid fans on earth, everything had worked out for the WRC and the FIA beyond their wildest imaginations. What could possibly go wrong?
This is a great video, I'll tell you that. The final years, it must have got way too dangerous. They was like, it's way too dangerous, man. We gotta call up that look.
By 1985, these cars were so fast and there were so few rules in place for safety that even the drivers were starting to voice concerns. Another rule in Group B, or really lack thereof, was that cars could be made of any material, including aluminum. Those Audis and Lancias that weighed scarcely more than a metric ton were able to do so because of their aluminum frames and roll cages. And the thing about aluminum, it likes to bend. If you've ever been on a commercial flight and got a window seat above the wings, you know how much aluminum can flex during flight. That's a good thing for a plane, but not so much for a car. Rescue workers were also not numerous enough to do anything in case a car went off the track. It could take half an hour for them to show up on the scene, and their communications were also horrendously lacking. Oftentimes, the only way they found out that a driver had wrecked was when another driver drove past, finished their segment, got out of the car, and reported the smoke they had seen to an official. By the time medics and firefighters arrived, it was often far too late. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands of spectators crowding the roads made it hard to get to the scene even if their communication was better. On May 2nd, 1985, at the Corsica Rally, a Lancia 037, piloted by Attilo Bottega, went off and slammed into a tree. His co-driver was okay, but when medics arrived 20 minutes later, they found the co-driver Mauricio limping out of the woods and Bottega dead still inside of the car. The drivers petitioned the FIA to do something, but they determined that at the speed the car was going, nothing would have prevented Attilo's death. It was more or less hand-waved away as a freak accident. Racing is inherently dangerous, that's true, but the FIA's investigation left drivers with little peace of mind. But later in the year during the Argentinian rally, Ari Vatanen crashed in a scary rollover. He broke both legs and a few ribs, one of which punctured his lung. He and his co-driver survived, but they both vowed to never race in Group B again. The cars were becoming so fast with so much power that one driver said the cars moved faster than he could react. It was more or less...
At that point, you don't need to be driving that thing, bro. That's like, no, you don't need to be driving that thing. That's like my number one fear. I done been in some cars before that was like, especially when I was younger, that was a little bit too much cup of tea for me. Yeah, you gotta work your way up. It's levels. So hearing these guys complain and everything and be scared on their own lives, it really puts fear into mine. I'm not about to go out there and do what they do. It's a wake-up call for the average people out there who be boosting up their ego thinking, yeah, I could go out there and do the same thing.
With so much power that one driver said the cars moved faster than he could react.
Nah.
It was more or less driving on instinct, right on the razor's edge of what was humanly possible.
Oh, instinct? We're not doing that. Can you imagine how the passenger felt? I'm sorry to keep pausing. Oh my, you have a sat passenger with somebody and they was driving reckless? It's cool when you do it because you comfortable, you behind the wheel, you don't really feel everything. As a passenger, can you even imagine that? I mean, the vehicle split in half.
It was more or less driving on instinct, right on the razor's edge of what was humanly possible. So going into 1986, the FIA finally budged and outlawed aluminum roll cages and set limits on aero devices like wings and spoilers, in hopes of slowing the cars down. But everything else remained the same, no limits on power and no crowd control measures. Because coming in 1987 was the new Group S division, Group B's replacement.
Spaceship?
Here there would be virtually no rules. Manufacturers only needed to make 10 road cars to reach the production limit, and the automakers were already developing their new round of supercars. In March 1986, the Portugal Rally was held, and the country had already become a hotbed for gearheads of all stripes, and now Group B would get their shot at glory in the country. People flooded the streets, and the first incident of the rally occurred when a cameraman was basically pushed into the line of fire, and Timo Salonen damn near ripped the man's hand off with his car and completely destroyed the fire, and Timo Salonen damn near ripped the man's hand off.
Damn. You could always get another camera, but you can't get another hand. At least the real one.
With his car and completely destroyed the $3,000 camera. The next accident would not be so lax. Joaquim Santos, a native Portuguese driver, started off in his Ford RS200. Wanting to see the hometown guy rip through the streets, people crowded more and more onto the course. At one point, a spectator jumped out onto the track and Santos swerved to miss him. He then overcorrected and the car slid broadside into a group of people.
It's your fault! It's your fault because you came out the hole! Oh my gosh!
Santos swerved more and more onto the course. At one point, a spectator jumped out onto the track and Santos swerved to miss him. He then overcorrected and the car slid broadside into a group of people. His co-driver Miguel Oliveira said that in Group B the cars were so fast that he just had to look at his notes and feel the track turn for turn. But in this instance, he suddenly felt thuds and bumps as the car careened into the crowd. 32 people were injured and 3 people died, including a mother and her 11-year-old son.
No!
In a disgusting move, the FIA continued the race and did not tell the other...
After everything that just happened, you still run your ass in the street? You can't make this up! Oh my gosh, bro! I'm not trying to get worked up or nothing, but my goodness! You think people would, learn a lesson? Especially enthusiasts that know about the sport, that unheard about the stuff that went on. You think I'm about to have my ass out there in the street knowing what just happened to these people, to the reporter? Come on, bro. That's what I be saying, like come on, man. That break my headset. Come on, man. You gonna do it?
Son.
Come on.
In a disgusting move, the FIA continued.
I mean, you had time, but man, you couldn't wait till after. All right, if people could argue with me, Strac, he had time. All right, but he couldn't wait till after. Let's have an argument then, bro. Everybody, there'd be people that be out there
and did not tell the other drivers what had happened. When the drivers completed the segment and got told what happened, they banded together and vowed to go on strike to stop the competition. But the FIA kept things going, and Jean Balestre said he would punish any driver or manufacturer that walked out. At the Corsica rally just 2 months later in May, Henry Tovinen and his co-driver Sergio Cresto were putting on the race of their lives, winning stages left and right. But on the second day of competition, their Lancia went off at a point where there was no guardrail, and it flew off of a steep hill.
What?
The fuel tank immediately ruptured, and a ball of fire erupted from the crash site.
Oh, this unacceptable,
Drivers completing
bro.
the segment reported to officials that they'd seen black smoke in one of the turns, and by the time rescue personnel got to Henry and Sergio, there was nothing left of the wreck except a charred frame. Now in action was borderline criminal. And after international pressure from drivers, manufacturers, and governments, Group B was immediately banned from competition and never got to see the light of day again.
I'll keep it 100, that's fair. You got it. You got it. I'll turn my steering wheel in. You can have it. Put it up. Go, I promise you, I'll go fill an application out at the supermarket. It's not that serious. No. It gets to a point, you know? How many accidents do we have to see? And then you see something like that. Now, this is a documentary. This is like a documentary film on this sport. So it's educating us on, how it used to be in the past with Group B rally and everything. This is not a video, like a compilation or a video wanting to just point out the worst of this sport or anything. It's just keeping people aware and informed, of how it used to be. Things have to, should I say, grow over the time, adapt. You have to diversify. Things are going to change. And this was the start of it. This is when they knew they needed to make some changes. Can you imagine in today's time, this still would have been happening? And would they go add some rails or something? At that impact, man, at such speed and impact, come on. Now that was traumatizing. Imagine both of them in that car just seeing themselves. You're headed for nothing but a down spiral on a mountain? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. And I love watching racing, but like at the same time, I'll be sitting there and I don't even have anxiety. I guess I just be anxious or something. I be anxiety or anxious for them. Like, oh my gosh, you got me thinking like I'm sitting here as your family member or your spouse watching you race, bro. Can you imagine how their wives feel? How their kids feel? Eventually, it's like, yeah, you gotta put it up, man. I know you love it, but some people would go for it. That is true. You know, doing what they love. But what if you don't lose your life and you survive? And now your body, because you've had this mentality, it's okay if I lose my life, fine. I was doing what I love, but then you end up surviving, and now you're handicapped for the rest of your life, basically. You know, you got issues going on. You're not the same. You may not even be mobile. Keep it 100. And this really is sad. I'm sorry to go on a rant, everybody. Man, the absolute insanity. You weren't kidding.
In governments, Group B was immediately banned from competition and never got to see the light of day again. And its successor, Group S, was scrapped entirely.
Group S? What the? Group?
Light of day again. And its successor, Group S, was scrapped entirely.
What was Group S? What was Group S Rally? I never heard of Group S Rally before. Group S was a proposed set of regulations intended to become the pinnacle category of the World Rally Championship, WRC, starting in the 1988 season. Okay. I just wanted to know real quick. I'm sorry, everybody. I know you probably like, man, catch up. Come on. Catch on. Keep up. Gosh. American behind.
And never got to see the light of day again. And its successor, Group S, was scrapped entirely.
Yeah. Come on, man.
After Group B's disbanding, Group A, the more strictly stock division, picked up the banner and marched forward. But this time with the restrictions and safeguards the drivers of the 80s had wanted. Now there were crowd limits, they had to be kept further back in most areas, and rescue personnel were more numerous with helicopters in the air and radio communications opened up between them. Now if a driver went off, their officials would know about it immediately and be able to send help within a few minutes rather than half an hour. Even still, rally racing remained popular all over the world. The Subaru Impreza WRX and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo became classic cars, and their computerized traction control systems and driver assist are commonplace on road cars today of all makes and models. The features you take for granted in your personal car and the safety precautions in place at every racetrack today were earned out there on the ice, snow, gravel, and dirt stretching from Portugal to Corsica, Finland to Argentina. People had to pay a high price for those things. And if there's any silver lining to Group B and rally racing as a whole, it was that they have saved countless lives through these technological advancements. The WRC is still competing today, and the envelope is still being pushed, but with the proper safety measures in place to make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes. And even with all the new rules set up, limiting horsepower and boost and making the cars sturdier with steel, if you watch a modern WRC event, you can see that the true spirit of Group B never completely went away.
Oh, absolutely. Airtime! That is ridiculous, bro. That is, no, seriously.
Today, the cars have a lot less horsepower, but they're actually faster than their Group B brothers, if you can believe it. And with modern seats and belts, they're safer than ever. There's never been a better time to be a rally fan with cameras broadcasting every angle of every stage. And yes, you can still get uncomfortably close to the action if that's your thing. For any of my European fans watching this, y'all got it pretty good over there. Don't forget.
This was an amazing video. I got a question before it slips my mind. Would you guys say that before they took away the regulations and everything, it was like, do whatever to your vehicles, was Group B rally still popular? Like still more popular than F1 and everything? Or do you think it was like, okay, once they took away those rules, that's when it really started popping? Like it started boosted the popularity, and that's when it really took off. And then it wasn't until after the fact, you know, because everybody was educated. They either seen it in person or on TV or heard about it through somebody or in the article, the papers, you know what I'm saying? About the incidents that have happened about these races, and everybody loves it. But then at the same time, nobody wants to see anybody lose their life. Nobody wants to see anybody make it out of something so crazy, like a vehicle split in half, and it was only one person that made it out. Two got to make it out, It's always two in that vehicle. Come on. And a lot of the times, only one be making it out, and that's the scary part. That is the scary part. My goodness. And it really is. And do you guys think that it stayed popular once they calmed down everything and they added back regulations and everything, but they still had diehard fans still rocking with Rally because of what it used to be? It wasn't always like this, so calm and safe, Please let me know in the comments. I feel like either way, rallying was going to be popping no matter what. No matter what. But would you guys say it was like just as popular before they took away the regulations? Or do you think they did that as like a strategic plan? Maybe for sales, or maybe to get more numbers so we can make this thing more global. We could actually make it a franchise, make it bigger than what it is, and expand this whole sport if we take away regulations. Do you think it was a strategic plan, an idea that they had behind the scenes, up their sleeves, or did it all kind of just happen naturally? People wanted to see more excitement, more thrill. They wanted to see more speed. Let me know in the comments. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, turn all post notifications, or share the video and channel to your friends and family members. You see what I'm saying? If you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, feel free to hype the video. It's my first time ever saying that, for real. Because people be in the comments like, I hyped the video. I'll be like, thank you. Feel free to follow my Twitch. Check out the Instagram. Follow my Instagram. Subscribe to all my other YouTube channels in the description down below. I love you all. Stay safe. Flood my comment section with some more videos, especially like what we reacted to today. Please, please, please. And we're going to get right to it.